عاميا فإنه لا يقلد أحدا من هؤلاء، وإذا كان عاميا فإنه لا يقلد أحدا من هؤلاء.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، أما بعد، فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال الله سبحانه وتعالى: فاسألوا أهل الذكر إن كنتم لا تعلمون. صدق الله العظيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Translations are a huge responsibility, so the person sharing a clip must make sure that the translation he's borrowed or the translation he's done himself is absolutely correct and does not have major changes or major mistakes in its meaning, which is the case here, because the Shaykh was talking about blindfolding the four Imams, and this is something that is not doable by the layman, and even the Hanafis agree with this when they say the Ibn Abidin in Radd al-Muhtari mentions وَقَدْ شَاعَ أَنَّ الْعَامِ لَا مَذْهَبَ لَهُ. Yes, it is widespread that the layman, the general populace, they have no madhab. Rather, they make the taqlid of their mufti. They take the fatwa of their mufti and act by it. And this is exactly what the Shaykh is saying. بل يسأل أهل العلم في زمانه أهل العلم بالسنة أهل البصيرة يسألهم عما أشكل عليه ويحمل بما يفتى به. That's it. He acts upon the saying that he's given fatwa with. He doesn't go and look into the evidence and look into two different sayings and three different sayings and what is closer to the Quran and Sunnah. He just takes the fatwa of a scholar and he blind follows it. Now some people say this is not blind following. This is just asking the scholars. Okay, if this is not blind following, what is? What does a person do when he's blind following a madhab? He does exactly this. Except he's blind following the opinion that has been verified by thousands of scholars instead of one single scholar. That's literally what he does. This is taqlid. Here Shaykh al-Shankiti mentions وَمَا تَقْلِيدُهُ فِي صِلَاحِ الْفُقَهَاءِ فَهُوَ الْأَخْذُ بِمَذْهَبِ الْغَيْرِ مِنْ غَيْرِ مَعْرِفَةِ دَلِيلِهِ. It is taking the madhab of someone else without knowing his dalil. This is taqlid. So if you ask Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen or your local scholar and you don't have insight over his dalil, over his evidence, this is still taqlid. If you follow the saying of a madhab, that's also still taqlid. And this also counters this istilah or this definition. Ta'rif also counters a shubha we get sometimes that, why didn't you make taqlid with regards to the ruling of taqlid itself? Or why didn't you make taqlid in tawheed or in issues of aqidah? Then we say, وَالْمَرَادُ مِنَ الْمَذْهَبِ وَمَا يَصِحُّ فِيهِ الْاجْتِهَادُ خاصَّةً. In the sense that taqlid being obligatory or being permissible, or when fuqaha discuss it, it's only in issues of ijtihad and not in issues which are usuli or in nature they cannot be gone, they cannot be differed with, like taqlid, the ruling of taqlid. This is something that is proven by ijma' and something that one cannot go against. Likewise, if someone says, I blind follow Shaykh al-Albani or Shaykh Muqbil with regards to the ruling of taqlid, trying to counter our own argument, then we'll simply say that this is not an issue you can make taqlid in, since it's against ijma' and it is against the evidence, and it is something that is not ijtihadi. It is something that is proven definitely and something that cannot be differed with, except if one is falling into an innovation. أما التقليد الجائز الذي لا يكاد يخالف فيه أحد من المسلمين فهو التقليد العامي عالما أهل الفتية في نازلة نزلت به، وهذا النوع من التقليد كان شائعا في زمن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ولا خلاف فيه. As is Shaykh al-Shankiti again, and look at this: أما التقليد الجائز الذي لا يكاد يخالف فيه أحد من المسلمين فهو التقليد العامي عالما أهل الفتية. So this is something that is like permissible and it's probably not differed over with anyone from the Muslimin, or this is something that has ijma' on it actually, right? Ijma' of the scholars. So this is taqlid of an ammi, or taqlid of the ammi to a scholar, or of a scholar. That is, he asks the scholar and he takes his fatwa, and this is it. This is taqlid as well, just as the Shaykh mentions here. الإمام ابن هبيرة mentions in الإفصاح أن الإجماع انعقد على تقليد كل من المذاهب الأربعة وأن الحق لا يخرج عنه. So he actually mentions that there's an ijma', unanimous agreement that taqlid is established, it is permissible and valid to make taqlid of the four madhahib as well. But as is well known, this is only possible for a student of knowledge, who is a beginner and who's not a mujtahid, and not for the layman. So the discussion and the Shaykh mentioning all of that doesn't really counter the madhhab or taqlid in any way. Rather, this is the general saying of the scholars, is that if the Shaykh actually mentions that the student of knowledge, he looks for the dalil as permissibility. But not every student of knowledge has the ability to look into the dalil. And this is something that the scholars mention, is that the person makes ijtihad, since ijtihad is the asl, as much as he can. But in order to gain ijtihad, he needs to fulfill some conditions and he needs to have a lot of knowledge and tools. So the usual thing he'd be doing for a long time is taqlid. So a common misconception spread by some Namadhabi brothers is that you can, which is also something that you see in this video as well, is that you can ask the scholars but you cannot make taqlid, with them somehow finding a difference between the two when there's no difference. It's actually a semantic difference of opinion between the scholars. And this is that some scholars, they said that when it comes to taqlid in ijtihad, in issues of ijtihad and furu', this cannot be called taqlid since it has a hujjah. And this is what Al-Ghazali actually points towards explicitly in this. It's very interesting how he talks about it. While the other group that says, no, it's taqlid, but it's taqlid shar'i. It's something that is valid and established by the sharia. Right? It's not taqlidul a'ma. It's not following the forefathers, which had no hujjah for. Rather, it's taqlid shar'i. And both are the same. It's just a difference of opinion when it comes to the istilah. So Al-Ghazali, rahimahullah, he mentions is that ijma has been established on the laymen being burdened with the rulings. So they have to follow the rulings. They are not free of the ahkam, and they must follow them. But also this means that they cannot be told to do ijtihad. They cannot be told that you must reach the rutbah of ijtihad, and this is something muhal. And look how he makes no difference between rutbatul ijtihad and taqlid. Either you reach ijtihad or you make taqlid. He makes this explicit. He says, وَإِذَا استحال هذا is in the sense that if it is irrational to say that a person or that everyone must reach rutbatul ijtihad, the level of ijtihad, then there is nothing left except asking the scholars, except taqlid. And he says that if someone tells us that you talked against taqlid, because in the same book, just in the chapter before, and everyone can go and check this reference out, they can copy paste the text in Shamil and they will find the book and they will find the text, inshallah, is that you just talked against taqlid. So how are you saying that this is something that is obligatory or this is a must, since this is عين التقليد, this is the definition of taqlid, this is literally taqlid. قلنا التقليد قبول قول بلا حجة وهؤلاء وجب عليهم ما أفتى به المفتي بدليل الإجماع. سبحان الله. When the scholars they mention bila hujja, this is something that actually leads to a misunderstood understanding of taqlid and ittiba, is that they mean that taqlid which is established, which has a hujja for it, this is permissible, this is obligatory, since taqlid in issues of furu' is established by the Quran, it's established by the action of the Sahaba, it is established by ijma', as Ibn Abdul Barr reports, and as other scholars talked about as well. So كما وجب على الحاكم قبول الشهود. So over here the hujjah is the Quran. Over here the hujjah is for the act of taqlid itself, and not they don't mean the hujjah of that specific saying, of that specific opinion, because that goes against taqlid. And as Shaykh Ibn Baz mentions, the Ammi is not able to differentiate between the right and the wrong. So how can you say that what they mean is that you take the opinion of a scholar with the dalil and you look into the dalil and you only take opinions that have the dalil, if he is not able to make a difference in the first place? Rather what they mean is that it is taqlid in furu', something that is established, something in which taqlid is established by the Quran and by ijma', and this is something that has hujjah. In contrast to taqlid ulama, in contrast to taqlid in things that have no evidence for. So if the taqlid of the mushrikeen for their forefathers, they had no, the Quran didn't reveal that they must make taqlid of their forefathers. There was no ijma' of the fuqaha that they must make taqlid of the forefathers. No, they made taqlid without there being any basis for it, and this is something that is prohibited. Wallahu ta'ala alam.